Hello, everybody. My name is Ken Kwame, and this is my second ever interview for my channel. And hopefully, this will be the second of many. I'm here with Adam. He is a friend of my channel, and he just finished a huge fan project, and we're here to discuss it. So, why don't you introduce yourself, Adam?
Hello, everybody. This is Adamation here. You guys probably know me from my long narrations and monologues.
What do you mean by monologues?
Oh, I'm just basically talking about all the narration I did in Pokemon Teal, the fan project that we just finished.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed he said we because I was actually one of the voice actors for Pokemon Teal, and that's actually what we want to talk about today, Pokemon Teal and his whole journey with it, why he thinks it's important, why I think it's important. Yeah. So first of all, tell us just quickly about your channel. What is your channel about?
So before Pokemon Till started, my channel was basically just an archive channel. I would draw a lot of art, and if I didn't have space to save it on my laptop or iPad, I would just upload it to YouTube as an archive so I could go back and be like, okay, how did I draw this? Oh wait, I recorded my whole process. Let me go check it out on YouTube. And so I kept all those public. Eventually, I started getting really into drawing more Pokemon art, but giving like different takes. I started with. I remember seeing this was like back in 2017. I remember seeing a whole bunch of just like hyper realistic Pokemon art. Like it'd be shared all over Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
and you know they yeah, they would do like the starter Pokemon and the legendaries, but they never would do like just the common, like the Pidgeys and the Rattatas. So someone I commented, I was like, this is really cool. Like it'd be really cool to see all the Pokemon, at least the first generation, what they would look like realistically. And this is before I knew Detective Pikachu was even a thing. So I kind of took it upon myself to, draw a couple of them. And someone had challenged me. One of my friends had told me, like, okay, you did that, but can you do all of them? And I'm kind of stubborn and competitive. So I was like, let's see. So ended up drawing all of the Pokemon and uploaded a Pokérap to them, at least the first 151 Pokemon, and uploaded a Pokérap to them on my YouTube channel. And that's when my channel kind of took off. But a lot of them were really cursed. Some of them look cool. Some of them look like spawns from hell. Uh, a lot of them were pretty. Not everything needs to be realistic. I learned that from that experience. From that experience, and then right as soon as I was finishing, it took me about a year, almost a year and a half to finish all of them because I would draw one every day. I would try to. Detective Pikachu kind of just blew all of the stuff I had did like out of the water. And plus, there was already other artists that had done like really amazing jobs bringing those Pokemon to life. I think one of them got hired to work on Detective Pikachu,
Yeah.
and that guy will he, he will always have my envy because that was like one of my dreams.
Your fan project is called Pokemon Teal. I'm kind of sad that the Teal Mask drowns out the search for Pokemon Teal because I can't find your project just by typing that into YouTube after typing Pokemon Teal Adamation. So
Right.
yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I remember when that happened too. That was a dark day. I think I had just finished episode 2 or 3, and it was to the point where you could type in Pokemon Till episode 1, and mine would be the first thing to pop up, and then release the Till Mass DLC, which kind of like took the whole algorithm by storm. So mine, you have to type in very specific like Pokemon Tills and Noah region, or you have to type in Pokemon Tills and Noah region Adamation, and then you still have to scroll like through like 5 or 6 videos. So yeah, they kind of got me with that one. I should have renamed it, but I was already into the series already.
Okay, so why don't you tell us about Pokemon Teal?
If I want to go all the way back, I would say Pokemon Till, probably the whole concept of it, or the ideal of me Fakemon kind of started back in like 2015. I had drawn a trio of starters, the grass one, the fire one, the water one. And I didn't really have a lot of like resources back then. I had just Microsoft Paint. So I kind of just drew them on Microsoft Paint. Once I had shared them online, a lot of people liked them. So I basically started drawing more and more. And back, I had limited resources, like I said, so I only had Microsoft Paint. So they were kind of like really crude, and the lines were all messed up and the colors are like all coming outside the lines. But later on, like I would say like around 2020, I started watching more Pokemon content, like Noggin, Birdkeeper Toby, and Noggin. They mostly do video game content, but they had did a hey, let's make our own Pokemon region. It's like I think a 2 hour video, and I remember watching it and just being amazed. I was like, so they can't make their own video game because copyright and everything, but this is the closest thing they can do without making a ROM hack, and this is really cool. And there was other channels that had done something similar, like Pokemon Tempest by Birdkeeper Toby. There's the Larimar region by Lumio's trainer Zach, and then there was also one by there was also a Canada based one by another YouTuber. And I know it's like there's a lot of cool ones, and they're all based on different parts of the world, but there's none like centered like based off any African influences. So I basically decided, I was like, okay, I guess I can make the Black Panther equivalent of Pokemon. Like I can make like a region that just has predominantly just African influences in it and just go from there.
Okay, that makes sense. So that was your whole idea behind Pokemon Teal, making it African based.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I always thought like out of all the places they've based Pokemon off of, why have they never based Pokemon off of any African countries or regions? Because African wildlife is pretty insane. Like we have giraffes, we have lions, we have rhinos, um, we have hyenas. I mean, those are all things that have been based off. They've already based Pokemon off of, but not in like a savanna or a tropical or a desert like sense. I kind of took it upon myself, and I kind of just it kind of just took off from there.
Yeah, I get what you're saying because there are, as you said, there's a lion, there's a zebra, there's a giraffe, and of course elephant, and there's even a coppergragus, which is based on Egyptian. But those are animals and Egypt, nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africa, which is very, it still makes no
Uh,
sense to
yeah, basically, I would see people on Twitter talking about like basically talking about hey, let's make a African based region, but they would turn the whole continent of Africa into one region, which I didn't think did justice because Africa is a giant continent full of over hundreds and hundreds of different cultures.
right.
So I basically said, I was like, you can't pan Africanize Africa. I mean, you can, but it's not right. You would be missing out on so many different opportunities. So I basically decided to do a region based with basically the ideal of West and basically Western and Eastern Africa kind of combined together. That way, I could, if I wanted to borrow from a different culture at a different time, I could basically like with Barovu and
Mm-hmm.
with like a lot of the other legendary Pokemon being based off like Yoruba mythology, and of course I had some based off Egyptian mythology, and then it had some based off like Swahili mythology as well. That way I could kind of like I wasn't limited to just one thing. I could borrow from either East or West Africa whenever I felt like it.
Okay, so are you yourself African or are you African American or
So I'm African American, but I've always been really fascinated and interested in West African culture. I know like most people, whenever they think of Africa, they think mostly like when it comes to like mythology, they usually go to Egypt, and because Egypt's the most like represented. But for me, I've always really been into like Yoruba mythology, the lesser known stuff. Like I used to love reading about like the Mali Empire. And then sometimes I would go down a little further down south and learn about like the great city of Zimbabwe, and, stuff lesser known stuff that don't really get represented in the media.
I definitely agree there. As a black man living in Jamaica, I'm still frustrated at how little our education system too tells us about Africa. It's just ridiculous because we are 90% of us in
Right,
Jamaica are descended from Africans. People don't know. I'm surprised people don't know that Anansi came from African mythology. People don't know
right.
that an Ashanti guy or Ashanti figure. People don't know that, and just it's ridiculous.
It gets kind of even more insane too because there's stuff like that they don't know, but even just the building blocks of civilization they don't know. Like if you're a paleontologist or archaeologist or a scientist,
Mm,
basically you're gonna if you're looking at the history or civilization of mankind, you're always gonna track yourself back to Africa because that's where it all started.
right.
um Not just with mankind but with music and just stuff like that, and there's just so many people that just don't know that, or aren't interested in really learning it. So when I was coming with Pokemon Teal, I was trying to kind of stay true to all of that, but also I kind of wanted to add my own personal twist to some of the tropes that we've seen in modern Pokemon games. I kind of want to add my own twist to some of those things, kind of like give context to like why why the main character does what he does, or why they have to collect gym badges, just stuff like that.
But apart from that, you think makes Pokemon Teal different from official Pokemon titles and the, the other fan projects, Pokemon projects that you've seen?
I would say from everything I've done, I can only speak from my perspective, but I think what makes Pokemon Hill stand out is just how basically how sincere it is, and how self-aware it can be. Because there's a I'm kind of a sarcastic person, so that kind of bleeds into my writing, and then sometimes it just come out just by like there's a part in Pokemon Hill that basically there was kind of a self-aware like meta joke about how Typhlosion's new design, with them making Typhlosion 3D, he kind of lost the charm he had as a 2D sprite.
Mm.
And there's kind of a joke in there about the other Pokemon making fun of his design. So I would say when it comes to Till, just kind of the self-awareness or silliness, and just there's just a lot of just there's just a lot of just meta moments in the series that I just didn't see a lot of other Fakemon regions doing, that I decided to put in myself, just to add my own like personal touch to it. Kind of satire, kind of poking satire at both real world stuff and in universe Pokemon stuff at the same time.
So, what was it like? Because you and I personally, we've talked about this, and since you, of course, made an African-based project, have the comments been difficult, or or are people okay with it generally, or have people been kind or unkind?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. So if I'm being honest, 99.9% of the comments have all been really supportive.
Mm,
They've all been, they've been like basically hyping it up, saying what they liked, their favorite things about it. The only negative moments I've really had, uh, they've kind of been like, you know, really far in between. There was one person I remember commenting. They were basically going like, "This is good and everything, but where are the white characters?" Which I found kind of crazy because there are white characters in Till, but also it's based in it's based in a region that's a combination of East and West Africa together, which there's not too many people that aren't of African descent living in those areas. So that's really the craziest. There was someone that said Pokemon Till was too black, but I don't really see that like a negative. I kind of see it as a plus because I was trying to make the blackest Pokemon project I could make.
Right.
Um, so really, really, everything's been it's been mostly supportive.
That's good. So you guys watching, don't feel discouraged and don't be scared about people responding like that. Or even if they do, so what? Just do what you want to do.
It just it basically comes with the territory. Like anytime you know an unrepresented group gets they make a spot to get represented. There's always going to be people that aren't used to it and they're going to feel uncomfortable about it. It happens in Hollywood. It happens in video games. It's going to happen on YouTube as well. So I just kind of it just that's just the kind of situation we're in right now. But I don't want people to be discouraged of making their own stuff. Um, like me personally, like whenever I do see something like that, it just kind of inspires me to make more. So I don't want anyone like listening to this to get discouraged not to make their own fan stuff because there's always going to be somebody that's going to side eye it. But if you're true to yourself and you make something that you're really passionate about, there's always going to be people that love it.
Right. What was the most difficult part of making Pokemon Teal? Because it took a while.
Ooh, okay. I don't think I've actually talked about this. The hardest part with Pokemon Till, the hardest part was I always thought about the people watching, and basically I always thought like, okay, how can I make this episode have a whole new, different vibe from the episode before it? There's an episode that's a horror story, and then there's an episode where you go inside a video game, kind of like Isekai, and and then there's one that's kind of like a mystery story. You're trying to find out like, hey, who stole this artifact from the museum? And then we have one that's kind of political, like a political like a thriller, but it takes place in ancient times. So the hardest part for me was always trying to make sure I made every episode feel fresh, like it's its own thing, but also serialized at the same time. So it didn't feel like disconnected from the main story. But that I would say was the hardest part, in my opinion. That I did put in a lot of effort into trying to make sure those felt fresh.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I did see that, but I didn't think that it was a deliberate thing. So I think you accomplished that. That's very good.
Thank you. It was a lot of. I basically had a checklist going off. Okay, what genre have I not tackled yet? Like, I remember there's an episode it's basically a pirate. It's kind of like a swashbuckling pirate themed adventure,
Yeah, I remember
and I
that.
had realized. Yeah, I had realized like, hey, I haven't represented a lot of water Pokemon yet. There's a whole bunch of water Pokemon I've designed, but I haven't even shown them off yet, and we're almost done with the adventure. So it kind of out of nowhere the player gets kind of thrown into this like high seas adventure where they're looking for lost treasure, and that's when I was like, okay, cool, I can introduce all the water Pokemon that I forgot to introduce earlier on in the story. I can all introduce them here and hopefully no one will notice.
I didn't notice. I thought that was on
All
purpose.
right,
So
good, it worked.
congrats to you for completing this project because it was how many? 22 episodes, 21?
2021. I Here's the craziest part. This is gonna sound crazy. When I first started making Pokemon Till, I was thinking I could wrap up everything in 8 episodes. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know what was wrong with me. That was impossible.
Eight badges,
I
eight
never
episodes.
wanted to go past. Yeah, that was basically that deal. I then eventually I realized like, okay, I guess I can't do it in 8. Maybe I can do it in 16. And then once I got to 16, I was like, okay, there's no way. Maybe I got to do it under 25. There's no way I can go past 25 because I always think about the viewer's time, and I was able to somehow do it within 21. But yeah, a lot of it was improvised. I was kind of going with the flow.
I mean, that's how a lot of writing works, I think. I am not much of a I don't know if you know in writing there's plotters and pantsers. I tend not to plot much. I tend to just have a general idea and then I just write. But the problem with
Right.
something like this is that you kind of have to plan because you have to do the whole world building and that kind of thing. So yeah, this interview is not about me, it's about you. So let's not get into that.
Oh, got you. Well, on the topic of you, you pretty much were the main character until, if you think about it, because Kybert really was. I mean, player. He's basically the viewer, so he can't really have that much conflict, or he can't really develop much as a character. But Kybrid, I would say, was really the main character in the whole series. That kind of changed the most. Yeah, I want to know your take on that.
On the character.
Yeah, voicing him and just everything, because you pretty much were the voice of Till.
Wow. I think that he was a very interesting character because at first you would just think, okay, what is this random thing? Is he just a Mewtwo ripoff? And and then this, he goes through this whole journey of finding himself because he hates humanity but loves his friends, and he has experienced so much hurt, and his journey is to find a way to release that hurt. And that's not something that I think is necessarily easy to write, and definitely not easy to voice. I I think that I'm not a professional voice actor by any stretch of the imagination, but it was I had to reach into myself and say, okay, how would I express this? Because he has to be a kind, almost like paternal or big brother figure to his friends, but he also has to be evil and murderous. So like finding that balance has been a very big learning experience.
When I was coming up with Kill, or when I was basically coming up with Hybrid, I looked at a lot of my favorite fictional villains. I've always liked Magneto, from Marvel. I've loved Killmonger.
Yeah.
I love Mewtwo as well. Kind of wanted to create a character that was basically a product of his environment, because I wanted Kyber to represent, humanity at its worst, even though he's only half human. A lot of his emotions and behavior came from the kind of his environment, the way he was raised or created, and his isolation. Because he was kind of supposed to be I would say a counter, or like the polar opposite to Shujo. Because Shujo, he's a rival, but he's kind of smothered in his in his upbringing. But Kybrid was more isolated, and they both are kind of rough around the edges, but Kybrid a little bit more so.
I think he did that because he was a character that I was not sure there could be a redemption for.
Right, right. Yeah, I kind of wanted to humanize him a lot to kind of not make him just a Saturday morning cartoon villain. I kind of want him to have a lot of humanity, both like physically and like metaphorically too.
It's interesting that you want to humanize a Pokemon character. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, after watching all 21 episodes, I guess my last question would be, why is it called Pokemon Teal?
Got you. So it was originally supposed to be called Pokemon Dusk and Pokemon Dawn, but I soon realized that those names were taken. Um, and then when I started developing the series, like more concepts, when I came up with Kybrid, I realized his skin was teal color, and I kind of had planned for him to be the center focus of the series.
Hmm.
So yeah, I wish there was a deeper meaning, but that's pretty much it.
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, it makes sense, especially since, the original naming scheme of Pokemon has been that it's based on colors. So that's pretty
Right.
good. Okay. So I guess the last thing I will say again, congrats. And I'm going to show a clip from Pokemon Teal, and my viewers go watch it because my it's my voice acting debut apparently. So, and it was extremely it was extremely fun to voice and to be a part of, and I looked forward to watching every single episode. Even though I kind of knew what was going to happen, I still wanted to watch it. So I believe that pretty much all of you are going to enjoy it too. And so, thank you again, Adam. And
No problem.
yeah, so until next time.
All right.
Your days of tyranny are over, hybrid. I'm taking you down.
Really? You're gonna take me down? How? When you're not even wearing pants?
Wait, what?
Pikachu? Pika-Pika.